You might have heard people say things like, I have my mom's eyes or my dad's nose. But what if I told you that the environment actually has the power to rewrite our genetic expression? What we're learning is that our environment actually has the power to influence how our genes are expressed. And this is based in the field called epigenetics. Epigenetics is often defined as changes in an organism caused by modification of gene expression, rather than alteration of genetic code itself. In simpler terms, your DNA sequence does not change, but how your genes are turned on and off can. This means that factors like stress, nutrition, or environmental exposure can influence how your genes function without rewriting the DNA itself. Traditionally, inheritance is understood through what's called vertical inheritance, where parents pass traits and genes directly to their offspring. Epigenetic expands on this framework by incorporating environmental context of both the individual and their parents. In other words, inheritance is not just about the genes you receive, but also about how those genes were regulated in response to environmental conditions. Both plants and animals have the capacity to undergo epigenetic changes. One important concept within this field is intragenerational and transgenerational inheritance. This occurs when a parent generation is exposed to specific conditions that trigger changes within gene regulation. For these changes to be passed on, gametes, sperm, and egg cells must be affected. As a result, offspring inherit altered genomes and may also exhibit phenotypic differences that not only reflect their own environment, but rather reflect the experiences of their parents. Transgenerational inheritance is where subsequent generations beyond the offspring also continue to inherit the altered genome. On the left, Generation 1 represents a pregnant individual exposed to an environmental factor. In this case, it's smoking, but it could be stress, poor nutrition, or even pollution. Importantly, this exposure does not only affect the parent. The developing fetus in Generation 2 is also directly exposed as well. Inside the fetus, there are primordial germ cells that will eventually become egg or sperm cells of Generation 3. Meaning that 3 generations are biologically involved all at once. By the time we reach Generation 3, there may be no direct contact with the original environment, and yet the gene expression can still persist. Ultimately, epigenetics challenges the notion that genes are fixed and shows us the interconnectedness between our biology and the environments in which we live.